Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 14 Pro and compare it against the Google Pixel 6 and see which specific phone is the better one for you. Now, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, you can definitely tell the Pixel 6 is a little bit of a bigger phone than the iPhone 14 Pro. The Pixel 6 on the front has a 6.5-inch OLED display, and it's a pretty decent panel. First thing I want to preface, this phone is much cheaper than the iPhone 14 Pro. This phone was like $599 last year. You can probably buy it for even less than that now since it's about a year old as of this point. You have a little bit of a bezel, but it's not really that bad. You have a hole punch display, which is really nice, and it's a 90 Hz panel, which is actually pretty decent. The viewing angles aren't great, and the display itself isn't perfect, but for the price tag, it's actually not that bad of a panel. With the iPhone 14 Pro, on the other hand, this is a $1,000 phone that just came out, and this is a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel. These names just keep getting bigger and bigger, but some key takeaways. One, the bezel seems to be a little bit slimmer than the iPhone, than the Pixel 6a or the Pixel 6. You're getting a little bit more of rounded corners. It's not as squared off as something like the Pixel 6, and you're getting this dynamic island, so it's not really as small of a hole punch as the 6. I would probably rather have it like that, but still there's still some use to it, which is nice. But I will say the panel itself looks better, and I like the design of the iPhone 14 Pro. I think it looks pretty good overall. Now, in terms of thinness and thickness, you can kind of tell as well that there seems to be kind of a little bit of a difference. So with the Pixel 6, we have this flat, but it's kind of curved a little bit too. With the iPhone 14 Pro, we have a complete flat side. So I think, I like it on both. But definitely the build quality seems to be a lot better on the iPhone 14 Pro by a lot. You're also getting a SIM card tray on the Pixel 6 right here, where we are not getting it on the iPhone 14 Pro, which is kind of unfortunate. Now on the back, we're also getting a little bit of a different setup in the cameras. So the 14 Pro has a triple camera setup, a wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens with a LiDAR sensor, where the Pixel 6, I keep mispronouncing this name, the Pixel 6 has a dual camera setup, a wide and an ultra-wide lens. Now on top of that, we are getting some very interesting stylings on the back. So the iPhone 14 Pro has the frosted glass back, which feels amazing. I love frosted glass backs. The Galaxy S22 has it, the S22 Ultra has it, the iPhone 11 Pro to the 14 Pros have it. It's such a nice feature. I'm hoping Google brings it to their phones as well because it is such a nice touch. And definitely when it comes down to these two, the iPhone 14 Pro, the build quality of this one is much better, but the Pixel, for its price tag, is not that bad at all. When you kind of consider the price tag per, whatever build quality ratio, the Pixel 6 may actually be higher because it's much cheaper, but the iPhone 14 Pro definitely feels a lot more premium in my opinion than the Pixel 6. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now, one big thing that some people have to remember is the longevity of both these phones. So although the Pixel 6 is, Android and everything, Google has actually been improving the software longevity of these devices, which I think is a really, really awesome thing. Now, I still think, obviously I think the 14 Pro is going to outlast the Pixel 6 in terms of, as of this day onwards. But I will say Google has been doing a pretty good job at, keeping up with Samsung. I think Samsung is kind of leading the charge here a little bit too. But when it comes down to these two phones, the iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro are probably going to outlast the Pixel 6 as of right now. So that's probably a big thing to keep in mind. But regardless, both these phones are still going to be lasting for many years from now. There's a funny glitch right there. I don't know why that happened. And, whether you buy the 14 Pro or the Pixel 6, you're probably going to go and upgrade these phones before you actually go ahead and, end the life cycle on these. So that kind of covers it up there as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 14 Pro has an Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 GB of RAM, where the Pixel 6 has that Google Tensor chipset inside of it with 8 GB of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, as you guys can tell, so let's get into it. Pixel 6 is on the left, iPhone 14 Pro is on the right. So phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Totally messed the first one up. Okay, I clicked it a few times. I don't know why I didn't open it the first time. Play Stores, 3, 2, 1. And the Pixel 6 definitely faster there. And scrolling through, one thing that you will see that I've been seeing for a while now is the smoothness factor of the iPhone 14 Pro. Look at how much smoother that is when you're scrolling through than on the Pixel 6. Is it a crazy big deal? Probably not the biggest deal ever, but it is one of those things to keep in mind. Hopping out of here, let's just load into their settings app, 3, 2, 1. Kind of the same thing, not that big of a difference. As always, we have several of these third-party applications we can go and open up. So let's get into it. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a pop-up here. Don't know why that happened. And the 14 Pro is faster. We did get into a little bit of a pop-up on the Pixel 6, so definitely kind of keep that in mind. But regardless, both kind of close. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's do snake versus blocks, 3, 2, 1. But the 14 Pro definitely won in that case. And 14 Pro again is slightly faster. Let's go and get into stack, 3, 2, 1. This one got into the adverb first, so not really too sure what happened there. Let's go into Genshin Impact, 3, 2, 1. A very, very big game. I played this game several times on both these phones already by now, and both phones do a pretty good job, you know? I will say the iPhone 14 Pro seems to me like the smoother phone when I'm playing the game. I don't know why. It could be, I don't want to get into it too much, but, you know, possibly it's due to the A16 Bionic, but more so maybe the iPhone game is more optimized. But regardless, you know, both are still very fast phones. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. Pixel 6 a little bit faster there. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. 14 Pro, I think, slightly faster there. Let's go into Instagram, 3, 2, 1. Messed that one up completely. Still kind of loaded up faster, even though I messed it up on the iPhone 14 Pro. So that was very, very interesting. And I think I do have Roblox here, which we can go and load that one up too. And it looks like I do not have it. But regardless, what I will tell you is, in my opinion, between both these phones, I definitely do think that the Pixel 6 did a pretty good job. And for a cheaper phone on the Pixel 6 side, I think it is overall a really fast phone for its price tag. But I do think that the iPhone 14 Pro is the smoother phone, and it's probably the faster phone between these two. But it's only by a little bit. I think the smoothness factor is a bigger difference than the actual, gameplay and all that other stuff you're going to see. You can see that if you're just kind of maneuvering through the whole entire UI, it's a smoother experience on the iPhones. So the speed may not even be that big of a difference, but the smoothness factor of the 14 Pro, it definitely goes for this favor. So that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of the actual camera capability on the back, you have a little bit of a different setup, like I mentioned before. Dual camera setup on the Pixel 6, wide, ultra wide. iPhone 14 Pro has wide, ultra wide telephoto lenses. 4K at 60 on the back of both these, where you can only do 1080p on the front of the Pixel 6. You can do 4K at 60 on the front of the iPhone 14 Pro, which is really nice. Now, on the Pixel 6, in my opinion, this has been a pretty decent camera for the price tag. It's definitely not perfect, but it gets the job done. And I will say, for a cheaper type of phone, it's a pretty decent camera. Now, you don't have a lot of modes built into this camera, but you don't really have a lot of crazy modes on the iPhone 14 Pro camera either. You have that ultra-wide lens, which is really nice, so you can zoom out a lot into a photo. You have, 20x zoom or 7x zoom, but a lot of it may be digital, who knows. But that ultra-wide sensor with the 0.7x zoom is nice. It doesn't go as far back out as something like an iPhone 14 Pro, so keep that in mind. But it's still a good camera. You have portrait mode, motion, night sight. You have a few of these modes on the back end right here too. But when you kind of look at something like the 14 Pro camera, it's actually insane how much better this camera is. I mean, it's a really good camera, but you have to keep in mind, this is a much more expensive phone too. This phone is not the same price as that one. This is a much more expensive phone than the Pixel 6, so it makes sense. I hope it has better camera. Now this thing, one thing to keep in mind, you have 0.5x zoom, so you can zoom out, 0.5x, but you also have 15x zoom. You have more than twice the amount of zooming capability on the 14 Pro than on the Pixel 6, so that is a really big thing too. Now, you still have the same type of modes. You have this new cinematic mode, which is cool. You have action mode built in, which is like a stabilization mode, which is nice, and portrait mode, and all this other cool stuff. So there's a lot of overlap, which I'm really happy about. I will tell you, though, for its price tag, it's a great camera. I don't think it's a big difference from the 13 Pro, but I do think, the 13 and the 14 do have better cameras overall than the Pixel 6 right now. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video, I'll definitely tell you, when it comes down to both these phones, I think the 14 Pro is definitely the one I would rather have, but that's kind of a no-brainer, mostly because this is a much more expensive phone than the Pixel 6. So I will say for the 14 Pro, better display, better cameras, better battery life. Actually, no, the Pixel 6 had better battery life, better smoothness, and better performance in like a longer lasting phone. But I do think probably for everything else, like the Pixel 6 for its price tag, it's a much cheaper phone. It's a better dollar per value standpoint. Still really good build quality, still decent display. Performance is still pretty good. Like, it's a really good phone, but I think I'd probably rather have the iPhone 14 Pro. That's kind of how both these phones compare. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.